The silence of the night field was interrupted by the collision of iron. Two shinobi were fighting in the forest near Kanahi. Moments later, the shinobi began to fight with the help of kunai. One of them was named Minato Namikaze, the other Takashi Uchiha. Minato easily reacted to kunai attacks. It was not difficult for him. This bothered Takashi. He quickly unsealed his katana from his right hand and made a sharp jerk of cutting Minato in half. However, Minato immediately turned into white smoke. It was a shadow clone. Realizing that the original was somewhere nearby, Takashi prepared for a surprise attack. Immediately, shurikens flew out from the side of the forest. Takashi easily beat them off. Along the way he realized where Minato was. Folding a couple of Takashi's seals, he created a large fireball that flew towards Minato. As a result, the equipment burned part of the forest. Suddenly, in a flash of lightning, Minato appeared behind Takashi. Immediately, he created the Rasengan technique and struck at Takashi, but he easily dodged the attack. Minato cursed to himself, noticing a three-washed line in Takashi's eye. Takashi, why are you doing all this? You loved Konoha and your clan. Why did you decide to destroy them? You don't understand anything, Minato. I released the nine-tailed one so that Konoha would pay for her sins, Takashi said angrily. Then you leave me no choice. I will distance you and seal the fox back to Kushin. After these words, the battle continued. In 3 weeks. Mr. Forth, here is the full report on the events of 3 weeks ago, said Anbu in the owl mask. Anbu had a folder in his hands, which he immediately handed over to Minato. Thank you. You're free, Minato said, after which the owl disappeared. Minato started reading the report. It said the following. As a result of the attack of the nine-tailed demon fox, a large part of the village was destroyed. As it is known, the fox was released by Chihoi Takashi. He attacked Kushina Uzumaki during her childbirth. Fortunately, none of the 7th hokage died. During the battle, Uchiha Takashi was exposed in battle with the 4th hokage. During the battle, he was killed. It is known that Takashi had a newborn son. Takashi's son's name is Naruto Uchiha. Also, fortunately, thanks to Shinobi Kanahi, the 3rd hokage, and subsequently the 4th. The fox was successfully sealed in the son of the 4th Hokage, Kushina Uzumaki Menmi Namikaze. As a result of the fox attack, 23 genins, 78 chunins, 56 jonins, 13 anbu, 10,58. 3 civilians were killed. 53 janina, 124 chunina, 41 jonininav, 28 anbu. 8,564 civilians were wounded. After finishing reading the report, Minato took a deep breath. It was hard for him to realize the events of the last 3 weeks. His best friend tried to destroy Konoha, and then he died at the hands of Minato himself. So, besides that, Takashi also had a son. A newborn baby will be almost without a family. Minato didn't know what to do. One thing pleased me was that everything was fine with the Minato family. Even the Menma, in which the nine-tail was sealed in order. Suddenly the flow of Minato's thoughts was interrupted. An old man of thin build and medium height immediately entered Hokage's office. The old man moves on a wooden cane. The face is slightly oval and is covered with battle scars and wrinkles. The nose is slightly convex, the lips are pursed. The right eye, as well as the forehead, is wrapped in a white bandage. Black greasy strands of hair stick out on top of his head. There is a crossed-out cross on the chin. The left eye almost does not see, so the old man constantly keeps them half open, so as not to tire him. The old man's name was Danza. Minato, I heard Takashi has a son. And give it to the root, it will become a good Kanahi weapon, Danza said coldly. No, Danza, I know your methods, and I won't let him become a member of your root, Minato said angrily. He hated Danza and considered him an unreliable person. Minato knew that Danza also hated him and would do anything to remove Minato from the post of Hokage. He's just the son of a traitor, and besides, this child is an Uchiha. He would be useful to the village, Danz insisted. Hiruzen-sama told me how many times you tried to kill him. So don't expect me to turn a blind eye to it. You're going to regret this, Danza said angrily as he left the office. Minato knew that Shimura would not calm down so easily. Just in case, he decided to put surveillance on him. He also decided to put surveillance on Naruto. You never know if Danzo will do something. When Minato finished thinking, he sighed heavily. He knew this was just the beginning. 6 years later, a 6-year-old boy was walking through the streets of Kanaki. Every now and then the inhabitants cast a look of hatred at him. The boy did not pay attention to it, he was already used to it. While reading the book, the boy decided to climb the statues of Hokage's faces. There were 4 stone faces in total. These were the first, second, third, and fourth Hokage. Climbing up on the statue, the boy continued to read. The book was called The Chakra of the Basics of Life. The book told about the chakra, what it is needed for, as well as how to manage it. The book also talked about C-rank techniques, for example, replacement, reincarnation, and cloning. The boy was so deeply immersed in reading that he did not notice how two shinobi appeared behind him. "Hey, you bastard," one of the shinobi said angrily. "Why the hell are you calmly walking around the village?" Naruto was surprised, turning to Shinobi. "I'm sorry, you must have confused me with someone else." "Isn't that you, Naruto, Uchiha?" the second shinobi asked. "Yes," Naruto calmly replied. "Great," one of the shinobi said with a bloodthirsty smile. Immediately after that, he took out a kunai. The quarter of the best was as lively as ever. Children played on playgrounds or spent time with their parents, merchants calmly sold their goods, and shinobi from the police just patrolled the streets. The leader of the Uchiha Fugaku clan was sitting quietly at home with his friend Minato Namikaze. Both were drinking green tea. Minato and Fugaku had known each other since the Shinobi Academy, and later they were on the same team. Since that time, a lot of time has passed. Fugaku and Minato went through the Third World War of Shinobi together, and experienced many adventures. Despite all the difficulties of Fugaku and Minato were best friends to this day. "So, the Anbu still haven't found the one who helped Takasha in the fox attack?" Minato asked calmly. "Yes, initially they, like me, assumed that it was Danza, but, alas, we have not found confirmation of this." "We found it," Minato replied calmly as well. "What about Arakimaru?" "I doubt it was him. It makes no sense for him to destroy the village where his son lives. I have suspicions of hidden cloud mists. They are already being monitored." Suddenly, a small pug dog with brown fur and a dark brown muzzle and ears ran into the room. He has pink paws, and he wears the standard clothes of the Ninken Kakashi, which consists of a blue vest with the seal of Hyanmoji, and a Kanahi protector, which he wears on his head. It was Pakken, Hataka Kakashi's draft dog. "Pakken," Minato was surprised. "Minato, you urgently need to go to the Uchiha hospital. Naruto has just been sent there." "What?" Fugaku and Minato were surprised in unison. Minato and Fugaku quickly ran to the hospital. When they found out where Naruto's ward was, they immediately ran into it. Kakasha was already waiting for them there. Kakasha was sitting next to the cot where Naruto was lying beaten and knocked out. "Kakasha, what happened to Naruto?" Minato asked with concern in his voice. "I don't know for sure, but apparently, Naruto beat 2 shinobi. They would have almost killed him if I hadn't intervened," Kakashi calmly replied. "But why did those shinobi do that?" Minato asked, but he immediately understood. "Danza? Most likely, he leaked information, which is why everyone found out that Naruto is a son." "That bastard?" "Minato-sensei, should I find Danza?" Kakashi asked. "No, we have no proof that all this is his doing," Minato said, restraining his anger, after which he turned to Fugaku. "Fugaku, from now on, Naruto will live with someone from the Uchiha clan. I'm afraid he won't be safe in the shelter either." "Okay," Minato calmly agreed to Fugaku. "I promise that nothing will happen to him in the Uchiha quarter, in which case I will present him with security." "Thank you, Fugaku," Minato said calmly. "Kakashi-sensei, there's something else we should talk about," Minato said, after which he looked at Fugaku. "Alone?" Fugaku just nodded, then left the room. After a couple of hours, Naruto finally woke up. His whole body ached. Immediately Naruto noticed that his right hand was bandaged, as was his left eye, and cuts were visible all over his body. Naruto quickly realized that he was in the hospital. Immediately Naruto decided to get up from his bunk and inspect the room. "I do not recommend getting up," a calm male voice was heard. Only now did Naruto notice that he was not alone in the room. A 20-year-old man was sitting not far from his bed. He was wearing standard Anbu clothing. Also, a mask was worn on the lower part of the man's face. Kanahi's protector was also visible on Anbu's forehead. "Your right arm is broken, your eye is damaged, but it will come back to normal soon." "You, Anbu?" Naruto asked uncertainly. "Yes," Kakashi replied. Even through the mask his smile was visible. "I brought you here. Do you remember what happened?" "It seems so," Naruto answered thoughtfully. "There were two men there, and they were angry about something. Even in the orphanage, they didn't get so angry at me and didn't beat me up." Thought Kakashi. He quickly realized that the orphanage treated him no better. But what were the Anbu doing at that time, who were supposed to guard Naruto unnoticed? Quickly gathering Kakashi's thoughts, said Naruto, "From now on you will officially live in the Uchi quarter. Your guardian will be my good friend, Obita Uchiha. He is the most suitable for this role." Naruto was shocked by these words. He didn't know what to say, but Kakashi broke the short silence. "He'll be back in a couple of days, and you'll be discharged from the hospital. Then you will get acquainted." There were two people sitting in the living room of the house of the head of the Uchi clan. The man and the girl were drinking tea in complete silence, but Fugaku decided to interrupt her. "Itachi, I know you just got back from a mission, but I have a request. In between missions at a certain time, you will have to quietly guard Takashi Uchiha, Naruto's son. Alas, Minato and I can only entrust this task to you." "Okay, Dad, but why me?" Itachi asked calmly. "You see, the boy was attacked today, and the Anbu, who were supposed to be guarding him, did nothing. After all, Naruto's father is hated by almost all residents of Kanahi. And that's why I want you to do it," Fugaku explained. "Okay, I'll get to it tomorrow. After all, I'm interested in watching Takashi-sensei's son myself." Two shinobi were sitting behind rocks, hiding from pursuit. Two were renegades of the Hidden One. Recently, they penetrated into Konoha and dug out the scroll of the third Hokage from there. The scroll described the secret techniques of the Sarutobi clan and the secret techniques of the third Hokage himself. Konoha immediately reacted to the theft of the scroll and sent her Jonin after the kidnappers. During the chase, Jonin managed to wound one of the kidnappers in the leg, which is why they decided to hide. "Damn, he's only one, and he's fighting like a whole army," the wounded shinobi said angrily. "Quiet, we need to trap this guy. If we don't kill him, we'll at least immobilize him," another shinobi calmly said. Yura and you did not have time to finish the wounded shinobi, as Johnny from Kanahi appeared behind him, who immediately opened his right eye, in which Mangekyo Sharingan was visible. After a moment, the wounded shinobi seemed to be sucked into this Sharingan, and a second later he disappeared. "One is ready," said Shinobi Kanahi. After these words, the kidnapper named Yurui jumped back a couple of meters. Elements of the earth. Resin, after these words of Yurui in the air, released a stream of resin from her mouth, which, once on the ground, was supposed to immobilize Shinobi Kanahi. However, surprisingly, the Yuruya technique just passed through the enemy. "What the hell?" Not bad," said Shinobi Kanahi, after which he immediately found himself in front of Yu, who landed on the ground. But a little weak. No sooner did Yurui understand what was happening, than blood began to flow from his neck, and in the hands of Shinobi Kanahi. He noticed a tana, which Yurui and cut his throat. Immediately Yurui fell to the ground, after which he said, "Damn you, Uchiha Obita." Minato, as usual, was sitting in his office. After hearing a knock on the door, Minato gave permission to enter the office. "Hi, Minato-sensei." Obita greeted him as he entered the office. "Hello, Obita. How was the mission?" Minato asked his student. "One of the kidnappers, the other is dead, has already been sent to a prison cell. And here is the scroll." Taking out the scroll, Obita said. "Great job, Obita," Minato praised his student, grabbing the scroll along the way. "I'm sorry to get straight to the point, but I want to give you a new mission. All right, Minato-san. What kind of mission is this? You need to. Obito was already looking forward to the mission of rank C, for some reason. He felt that this mission would be the most important for the village. This mission will be so important that Obito can appoint the next hokage, follow the child in between the work of shinobi. Minato calmly finished that Obito was surprised by the sound of collapsed dreams. Why me? Isn't there anyone more suitable? No, you are the most suitable for this role. You're probably one of Kanahi's kindest shinobi. Besides, you got along well with the boy's parents. These are just excuses, Obito said in frustration. Okay, who is this kid? Naruto was standing in front of his new home. The house was located in the Uchi quarter. It was with one floor. From the outside, it could be seen that there were only 3 wide rooms in it. I was told that my guardian is here. Probably late, Naruto thought. Naruto was in the hospital for several days. When he was discharged, he immediately met Kakashi, who told him where Naruto should meet his guardian. Naruto himself did not understand why he needed a guardian. He was fine in the shelter. At least there were no problems there. Hey, I heard something behind Naruto. Turning around, he saw a shinobi in a Jonin uniform. The left side of the man's face was covered with a bandana. The exposed part of the face was covered in scars. It was Obito Uchiha. Are you Naruto? I'm your new guardian. Nice to meet you. Yes, I'm Naruto Uchiha, Naruto greeted. Well, now you're going to live with me. Honestly, I didn't really expect that I would have to babysit a 6-year-old child. I won't give you any trouble. I was preparing in the shelter to be quiet and calm, Naruto calmly replied. Heh, well, if that's the case, then I'll put up with you, Obito smiled, after which he stretched out his fist forward. Now treat me like an older brother, and I'll treat you like a younger one. Of course, Obito-kun rejoiced Naruto, banging his fist in response. A year has passed since Naruto started living under the tutelage of Obito. During this time, Naruto began to treat Obito as a loving older brother. Obito also became attached to Naruto. Even if at first he was unhappy that he would have to babysit a child, but as it turned out, Naruto was an obedient and intelligent child and did not cause problems. However, despite the fact that everything was fine at Naruto's house, the attitude of Kanahi residents towards the boy became even worse. Almost always, when Naruto was left alone, the residents began to catch and beat him like some kind of animal. Fortunately, the residents were always stopped by a figure unknown to Naruto. This figure was Itachi Uchiha. By order of her father, Itachi had to keep an eye on Naruto when Obito is on assignments. Naruto himself did not know that Itachi was following him, as well as why the residents of Kanahi hated him. One thing Naruto knew for sure, it couldn't last that long. One day during dinner, Naruto decided to raise this topic and discuss it with Obito. Listen, Obito, I have a request for you, Naruto began to speak. Obito calmly began to listen. Can you please teach me some ninja techniques? I'm sorry, I don't have time for this, Obito said calmly. I've had too many missions outside of Konoha lately, so I don't have much free time. But I want to somehow protect myself from the residents. Whenever you go on missions, they attack me. The only place where nothing threatens me is home. And I can't just sit here. It's boring here. Jesus, Naruto, you're going to the Ninja Academy in a couple of months. There you will learn how to use ninja techniques. I still have 2 months, Naruto said with displeasure. After some time, after finishing dinner, Naruto immediately went to bed, and Obito began to wash the dishes, simultaneously thinking about Naruto's request. On the one hand, Naruto really should learn to defend himself from the villagers. On the other hand, there is Itachi, who always helps in case Naruto is threatened with a deadly threat. After some time, Obito decided to teach Naruto some basic techniques, after which he went to bed. Obito was surrounded by only darkness. There was not a single light source around him. Obito couldn't move. Suddenly, he felt a hellish pain in his right arm, as if it had been torn to pieces. She heard Obita in front of her. The laughter sounded clear. It was possible to understand that its owner was a couple of meters away from the upholstery. After a moment, Obita noticed shining scarlet eyes with black pupils resembling a whirlpool. After a moment, the owner of the eyes held out a long blade in front of him. You could tell by the blue blade on it. For some unknown reason, goosebumps ran through Obita's body. For one clan to be reborn, the other must die. Abruptly, Obita got out of bed. His entire body was covered in cold sweat. It was just a nightmare. Obita was breathing heavily. This is not the first time he has had this dream, and almost always the outcome is the same. Obita always woke up in fear of his past. Damn it. Obita spoke again, breathing heavily. Well, it looks like we'll have to start serious training. Naruto woke up at about 6 o'clock in the morning, or rather he was woken up by Obita. Before Naruto could ask a question, Obita immediately said, "In 30 minutes, we are going to the training ground. As you asked, I'll teach you a couple of techniques." After these words, Obita went to the hotel. Naruto was happy. He quickly changed his clothes and followed Obito. After some time, Naruto and Obita were already at the training ground. It was an old training ground where Obita and his team used to train, back in the days when he was a genin. Okay, Naruto, we have 2 hours, after which I will go on another mission. You have to do a couple of exercises for an hour. Then we will try to awaken your chakra hearth. All right, I'll do it. Naruto was slightly displeased. He thought that Obita would immediately teach him how to control the chakra, but apparently he would have to wait a little. So, first you have to run around the polygon 10 laps, then do 50 squats, 25 push-ups, and swing the press 30 times. So, a couple of times in a row. Is that clear? Yes, Naruto replied. He was surprised by so many tasks. Then he added, "You will be proud of me, Obita." "Ha! I have no doubt," Obita said with a smile. After an hour and a half, Naruto completed the exercise. He is very tired, but the day has just begun, and Naruto has yet to awaken the center of the chakra. "Let's try to awaken my chakra hearth," Naruto said with a twinkle in his eyes. "Okay, but don't be surprised if it doesn't work out. Besides, I have to go on a mission in 30 minutes, Obita warned. Sit in the lotus position and try to feel the chakra inside you." Naruto listened to Obita and did as he asked. After a second, Obita stood behind Naruto and put his left hand on his back. Along the way, he redirected the chakra into it. Thus, Obita helped Naruto awaken the hearth chakras faster. So 30 minutes passed, and the chakras could not be awakened. "Okay, I'm going on a mission. Let's continue in the evening when I get back," Obita said. "Okay, but I'll be here for a while. I want to try to awaken the chakra hearth myself," Naruto replied confidently. Well, all right, after these words, Obita went to Hokage's residence to take on a new mission. So a month and a half passed. Naruto, thanks to Obita's training, was able to awaken the center of the chakra. So Obita taught him to use shuriken and kunai. And also Obita taught Naruto the substitution technique and got him some taijutsu. Naruto himself was glad that now he could somehow stand up for himself. In addition, Naruto should go to the ninja academy in a couple of weeks, where he will also be taught the basics of shinobi. And after completing the academy, Naruto, as well as Abi, will be able to attend shinobi missions where he will be able to apply all your knowledge. However, our hero could not have imagined that he would have to apply his knowledge so early. Naruto, as usual, was training at the training ground. Obito was on another mission, so our hero was alone. Today, he decided to try using the transformation technique. To do this, Naruto took a book from the library called Basic Shinobi Techniques. I think it's clear what it says. Naruto was doing pretty well. At least, it was possible to turn into another person for only a couple of seconds. After some time, Naruto decided to take a break. He had a small backpack under his arm, which contained shurikens, kunai, and one onigiri. Taking onigiri, Naruto started eating it. Meanwhile, a 40-year-old man was running nearby. He had a long katana covered in blood in his hands. At least two Anbu were running after the man. One managed to kill, and the second, or rather the second, turned out to be much stronger. That's why the man had to start running away, because he didn't have time to fight. Noticing a training ground nearby, a man decided to run through it. Immediately he noticed Naruto, after which the criminal threw a kunai at him. Naruto noticed the attack, but did not have time to react. He was preparing to die when suddenly someone stopped kunai. A tall girl stood in front of Naruto. Her hair, like her eyes, was black. She wore an Anbu uniform. In the hands of the girl was a kunai, which was thrown at Naruto. He immediately realized who this girl was. Itachi-san. Naruto was surprised. Naruto, you better leave, it's not safe here, Itachi said calmly, turning to the enemy. You tried to kidnap the fourth Hokage's son, and you think you can escape. Damn, the criminal wanted to escape, when suddenly he was surrounded on all sides by clones and Itachi, with 3 wash sharings in his eyes. Seeing them, the criminal yawned and said, well, okay, I'll spend time on you, and then I'll go to bed. Naruto realized that a serious battle was about to begin, so he decided to hide in the forest surrounding the landfill. Hiding, Naruto began to watch the fight. The criminal decided to deal with the clones first. He abruptly started attacking them in kinjutsu. In a couple of seconds, the criminal dealt with several clones. There are only 3 clones left. They immediately jumped away from the enemy and used the fire stream technique together with the original. As a result, Itachi's clones blew out fiery jets that rushed at the enemy. He could not dodge due to the fact that the attack was coming from all sides. Realizing that he had no choice, the criminal decided to hit the ground with the tip of his katana. As a result, a dome of water appeared around the enemy. The dome was able to protect the criminal, and after a moment he got out of it, simultaneously throwing shurikens in all directions. As a result, the clones were destroyed, and the original was able to evade the kunai. Suddenly Itachi made a sharp jerk towards the enemy. Along the way she took out her Tanto Anbu and began to attack the criminal in kinjutsu. He did the same. After a couple of minutes, the criminal managed to strike at Itachi, but she immediately turned into crows that flew into the sky. Moments later, the crows turned back into Itachi, who in turn seemed to be standing in the air. The criminal quickly understood the genjutsu. Suddenly, the criminal was tied up by cables that appeared from under the ground. The culprit was trapped. Naruto watched Itachi and the criminal. Both stood motionless. Naruto quickly realized that Itachi had caught the enemy in genjutsu. After all, she was famous for being a genjutsu master. Itachi, meanwhile, created one clone that went to the side of the criminal to tie him up. Suddenly, the enemy was covered with a dark, terrifying chakra. Naruto even fell to the ground from the pressure. This chakra was so terrifying. The criminal immediately grabbed the clone by the throat, which is why he disappeared. A moment later, the enemy rushed towards Itachi, attacking her with his katana. She was able to evade. She was surprised that the enemy was breaking out of genjutsu. As a result, Itachi and the criminal started a battle in kinjutsu. Naruto continued to watch. He was scared for Itachi, because she was fighting with such a monster. Naruto didn't know what to do, run, call for help or help. But how? Meanwhile, the enemy opened up, and Itachi managed to strike in the side. The criminal reacted quickly, and a moment later jumped away from Itachi. There was a visible wound on his left side, but the enemy did not pay attention to it. Immediately, he began to fold the seals. Naruto learned the order of printing. He quickly realized what kind of technique the enemy was going to use. Quickly gathering, our hero decided to throw shurikens at the enemy. He easily beat them off, but he made a mistake. He was distracted. Immediately, Itachi struck at the enemy. A moment later, he was lying on the ground with his chest cut open. The fight was over. Seeing the defeat of the criminal, Naruto came out of the bushes. He was surprised that the distraction had worked. Itachi, meanwhile, put a seal on the criminal so that he could not move. Damn, coughing up blood, the criminal said, I forgot about this brat. Itachi-san, who is he? Naruto asked Itachi. This guy wanted to kidnap the fourth Hokage's son, but thanks to Anbu, he didn't succeed, Itachi said calmly. Then she turned to the criminal. I will send you to prison for now, and then you will face the death penalty. Ha! The criminal gave a light laugh. I'm sorry, but I'm not planning on going to jail. Suddenly, Naruto and Itachi felt a lot of pressure. Both fell to their knees. The criminal started laughing, but Itachi quickly recovered. Immediately, she decided to knock out the criminal, as she understood that he was up to something. However, before she could do it, something stopped her. After a moment, she realized that she was bound by strange black threads. The threads appeared as if from the shadow of the Itachi itself. For a long time, Kagador, the criminal said with a smile. Suddenly a man got out of his own shadow. Although it was difficult to call him a man. It seemed as if this man was literally a living shadow, for the faces were closed. And he had no genitals. It was just a shadow. Don't waste your time with these people. The shadow named Kagadori listened to the criminal, and a moment later, a black circle appeared under them, into which the shadows of the criminal fell, after which they and the circle disappeared, as did the pressure on Naruto and Itachi. Spatial technique surprised Naruto. It seems that after these words, Itachi turned to Naruto. Thank you for distracting the enemy. It's a pity he ran away. It's nothing. The main thing is that the victims are minimal. You used Itachi-san on this type Genjutsu at the beginning of the fight. Yes, the girl answered briefly, and where did you learn this? Itachi laughed heartily. I knew you'd be interested. I can teach you a few tricks. Let's assume that this is a gift as a thank you. Seriously. Naruto was surprised. He hadn't expected this turn of events. Yes, but I first need to pass on information about the criminal, Itachi said calmly, after which she thought. That type and that creature are clearly working with someone else. But why do they need Menma on Namikaze, and what are their goals? Ha 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 ha. There was laughter. Kagadori and his companion were in a room vaguely resembling a Buddhist temple. There were 6 people standing around the 2 criminals, one of whom was the owner of laughter. And Chira, how insignificant you are. Ha ha ha, you seriously couldn't dodge the shurikens. Shut up, Frost. I forgot about that brat, Ichira replied irritably. Moreover, I could easily get out of there. Actually, Frost is right, one of the people said. Not only did you lose, but your mission only brought us losses. Shut up, Tanlin, Ichira said lazily. Are you only thinking about money? Before I could say Tanlin, he was interrupted. Shut up, an angry voice was heard. Ichira, you failed the mission. In a good way, I should kill you right here, but thanks to your former merits, I'm giving you one last chance. Yes, thank you, Mr. Yada, Ichira stammered. It wasn't hard to see that he was afraid of him. Now let's move on to another topic. Chishiki, is there any news about your project? I asked. Yes, I am, the girl named Chishiki calmly replied. Thanks to my research, the project to create an artificial human is progressing successfully. I can say with confidence that the new object will be much better than Kagadori and other creatures. That's great, I smiled. Soon Kanaha will pay for his sins. Mr. Yada turned to Yada Frost. That man is approaching our lair. Finally, in Kagador, Tanlin, your next task will be to fight with Obito Uchiha. Obito walked along the sand dunes of the Wind Country. He had just completed a mission aimed at killing a C-rank renegade. As a result of the battle, the enemy used a spatial technique, because of which he and Obito got into the land of wind. In the end, Obito still managed to complete the mission and finish off the enemy. However, now he had to walk to Kanahi for several days. Fortunately, Obito could easily solve this problem thanks to his Mangekyo Sharingan. Mangekyo Sharingan Obito received during the Third World War Shinobi when his friend died. The Mangekyo itself allowed to move, upholstered in a dimension called Kamui. It should be noted that Obito has only one Sharingan. He gave the second one to his friend Kakashi Hatake, also during the Shinobi World War. Because of this, half of Obito's face was covered by a mask. Obito was about to use Mangekyo when suddenly he noticed that two mysterious people appeared in front of him. "Is that him?" one of them asked. "Yes, Tanlin herself," another person replied. Obita began to examine the strangers. The stranger named Tanlin was tall. He was dressed in an expensive haor, dark in color and with patterns in the form of golden dragons. Tanlin's eyes were yellow and his hair was platinum-colored. The second stranger wore gray robes covering his entire body, which is why Obito saw only a mask in the form of a skull on his face. "Who are you?" Obito asked, preparing for battle. "Lao Gong, how much is it worth on the black market?" Ignoring Abbott, Tanlin asked his comrade. Apparently, this is Obito Uchiha. After these words, Lao Gong thought. After a couple of seconds, he replied, "About 5 billion rivers." "Then don't interfere," Tanlin said with a greedy smile, after which he made a sharp jerk towards Obito. Tanlin struck out with his right hand. Fortunately, Obito was able to dodge the blow by jumping away from the enemy. Tanlin did not have time to leave the blow and hit the ground. Not a bad reaction. Obito was surprised by Tanlin's strength. The fight won't be easy, Uchiha thought. Landing on the ground, Obito immediately folded several seals, after which he shouted, "A big fireball." After these words, Obito let out a huge fireball from his mouth. Tanlin did not waste time and immediately folded the seals, after which a stone wall was formed in front of him, which was able to protect Tanlin. However, the wall itself was destroyed. Immediately, Obito made a sharp jerk again, intending to attack Tanla with his katana. He, in turn, began to calmly dodge the attacks. "You're really worth 5 billion. I would like to get them as soon as possible," Tanlin said greedily. All his thoughts were only about money. Obito quickly realized that it would not be possible to touch Tanlin, at least not katana. Because of this, Uchiha decided to use his mangekyo. Immediately, Obito began to move the enemy into someone's dimension. Tanlin could not move in any way. What can we say about victory? Suddenly Lao Gong appeared behind Obito. He had a huge scythe in his hands. With her, Lao Gong was like death itself. He attacked Obito, but the scythe seemed to fly through him. Lao Gong quickly realized that it was all because of Mangekyo Obito. A moment later, he hit Lao in the stomach, which sent him flying several meters away. However, fortunately for him, Tanlin was free. Obviously, Obito couldn't use Sharingan techniques at the same time. Tanlin quickly realized this. Immediately, he began attacking Obito in taijutsu without stopping. The blows passed through the upholstery. He also tried to dodge the attacks, but Tanlin was faster. After 5 minutes, the Obito became tangible. Tanlin immediately struck a series of blows at Obito, which caused him to fly off a few meters. "So you can be intangible for only 5 minutes," Tanlin guessed, after which he began to fold the seals, saying along the way, "You know, I'm already getting bored." Golden arrow technique. Immediately, golden arrows began to fly out of Tanlin's mouth. There were about 50 of them. He beat off half of the Obito with his katana. On the other half, he just dodged. Obito was even able to grab one of the arrows and throw it at Tanlin's head, but he just tilted his head to the side. Thereby the arrow only scratched his right cheek. "Tanlin, should I step in?" Lao Gong asked his comrade. He was standing nearby and just watching the fight. "No, thank you for helping me before, but now I'll figure it out myself," Tanlin said with a bloodthirsty smile. "Who the hell are you?" Obito asked irritably. "Pay me 10 million ri, and you will know the answer," Tanlin said with a sneer, after which he made a sharp jerk towards Obito. Obito expected this, and after a minute, he was able to dodge the blow. The enemy was clearly superior to Obito in speed, but thanks to Sharingan and his experience, this time, he was able to react to the enemy's attacks. However, Tanlin's speed wasn't the only problem. The problem was that the enemy clearly possessed Keki Genkai, which gave him the ability to create and manage gold. By the way, after a second, Tanlin decided to use this ability. In moments, Tanlin's hands were covered with gold. Golden claws also grew on them. Tanlin again made a sharp jerk along the way. He began to attack Obito with his claws. He could barely dodge the attacks anymore. Tanlin seemed to have become much faster. But fortunately, Obito still had a lot of trump cards up his sleeve. Immediately, he, thanks to his impalpability, literally fell through the ground. This surprised Tanlin. Suddenly, the sand under Tanlin's feet began to explode. Tanlin did not have time to react, which is why several explosions hit him. Then Obita crawled out of the ground. Obita's trick was that he hid about 100 explosive seals in Kamui's dimension. Obita simply teleported them from Kamui underground, thereby he was able to injure the enemy. After a couple of seconds, Obita noticed Tanlin. His kimono was torn, and wounds and burns were visible on his body. You, Tanlin, were clearly angry because Obita almost blew him up. However, what he said surprised our Uchiha. You tore my kimono, you bastard. Do you even know how expensive it is? Immediately, Tanlin's entire body was covered with gold. After a moment, the gold took the form of armor. Tanlin made a sharp jerk towards Obita. He stabbed Tom with his claws. Fortunately, Obita managed to become intangible, but the enemy still left a cut on Yuchi's chest. Once behind Obita Tanlin, he began to attack again. This time, Obita blocked the blows with his katana. After 3 seconds, Obita was even able to repel several enemy attacks. Immediately after Obita repelled another attack, he redirected the fire chakra into his katana, causing its blade to catch fire. Your mother, Tanlin cursed, after which he jumped back a couple of meters. He was clearly panicking. This allowed Obito to understand that fire is the enemy's weak point. Tanlin, however, quickly recovered, after which he began to fold the seal. Immediately he said golden bullets. After these words, small golden spheres began to fly out of Tanlin's hands. Obito was able to react and cut the spheres. But as a result, Yuchi's katana was broken. Immediately, Tanlin was behind Obita. He was about to attack, when Obita suddenly turned to Tanlin and let out a massive fireball from his mouth. As a result, Tanlin and the ball flew several meters away. The fireball technique dealt heavy damage to Tanlin's armor. But Obita wasn't finished yet. Obita began to fold the tiger seal again, after which Obita gave out a huge column of flame that took the form of a dragon. Because of the effects of the previous attack, Tanlin couldn't move. He was already preparing for death, when suddenly someone stopped the technique. Tanlin did not immediately notice a familiar figure in front of him. It was one of Tanlin's companions who had an ice dragon statue in front of him. Frost, Tanlin was surprised. You're preventing the third one from waking up, and Lao Gong called me, looking down on Tanlin. Frost said. Your opponent has escaped. Tanlin was angry. Could he have just died? Although he was more angry that he would never get his money. Pav Obito. I managed to move into a coma. My wounds hurt. There was not enough chakra. It looks like we'll have to sit in another dimension for a while. The first thing to do is take care of the wounds. It's good that I took a first aid kit just in case. That guy was strong. But who was he? It's hardly a bounty hunter, since he didn't even know who I was. Maybe it's a Katsuki. Okay, I'll think about it later. First, we need to take care of the wounds. The enpaf is upholstered. It was getting dark. Naruto was sitting on the statues of Hokage. Itachi said she would meet him here. While Naruto waited, he thought about Ichira and the creature that saved him. Is it possible that this shinobi is one of the hidden villages? That would explain why he wanted to kidnap the fourth Hokage's son. From his thoughts, Naruto was interrupted by Itachi, who was behind him. Here it is already here. Well, let's get started. Sitting down in the lotus position, Itachi said. Hello again, Itachi-san. Also sitting down opposite, Naruto said. Now I will briefly tell you about genjutsu, and then you will try to use it. Okay, Naruto said calmly. Several months have passed. Itachi taught Naruto a couple of genjutsu techniques. During these months, the two Uchiha became friends. Both enjoyed spending time together. The Uchiha themselves could not explain it. It seemed like they just had something in common. However, there was one huge minus in Naruto's life. Obito has disappeared somewhere. He hasn't been in Konoha 4 months. Someone in the village even suggested that Obito you had escaped from Konoha. But this assumption was easy to refute, because he simply had no motives to do it. There are only 2 options left. The first, Obito died, and the second, he was captured by an unknown enemy. Naruto himself was very worried about his brother, even if not by blood. After all, he became the first dear person for our hero. However, Naruto knew that sooner or later Obito would return, and if he found him himself, when he became a shinobi. By the way, about shinobi. The day has already come when Naruto has to enter the academy. Uchiha was already standing in the courtyard of the academy. There were also children from various Kanahi clans in the courtyard, with their parents standing with the children. Seeing this picture, Naruto felt a little sad, because he did not know his parents, and the only person dear to him was missing. Suddenly Naruto and the others saw a flash of lightning from which Minato Namikaze appeared. Minato was standing in front of the doors to the academy. There were also headmasters and teachers standing next to him. Greetings to you all. I greeted everyone with Minato. Now I want to address the children who are entering the academy today. An important moment is happening for each of you today, not only for you, but also for the village itself. Those of you who enter the academy today can become a strong and worthy shinobi. And someone can even become my replacement as a hokage. In general, soon each of you will begin your preparation for becoming a shinobi. It will take about 5 years. During this time, you will learn a lot, and these skills will be useful to you in life. I wish you good luck and hope you become good shinobi. After these words, Minato disappeared with a flash of lightning. The children were impressed that they saw the fourth Hokage himself. After some time, the director of the academy spoke up. Now you will be called by your first and last names. You will have to approach the one who called you. Naruto was sitting, apparently, in his classroom. There were also other children who had entered the academy inside. Naruto immediately noticed that there were a huge number of clan children in the class. Of his acquaintances, Naruto noticed only the son of the head of the Uchiha clan and Itachi's younger brother Sasuke Uchiha, as well as the son of the fourth Hokage. Personally, Naruto was unfamiliar with them, and he didn't have much desire. There was also a teacher in the office. He was of average height and build. The teacher had brown hair tied in a ponytail. The eyes were the same color. The first thing that attracted attention in the teacher was the scar running across the bridge of his nose. He wears the standard Kanahi shinobi uniform. After a while, the teacher finished counting the children in the classroom and finally spoke. So, it seems that everyone has gathered. My name is Iruka Yumina. I'm your teacher for the next 5 years. Now each of you should introduce yourself, and then we will begin the first lesson. After these words, Iruka began to call one student to the blackboard. An hour later, everyone introduced themselves. There were 20 children in total in the class. So, now we all need to go outside. There will be a mini training ground where I will test your skills. After these words, everyone went outside. As the hand said, there was a training ground with targets on trees and dummies for taijutsu training. Let Naruto Uchiha be the first to show their skills. The first thing you have to do is hit the target on the trees with 10 shurikens. Naruto just nodded. After receiving the shurikens from Iruka, he prepared to throw them. 3 seconds passed, and 8 out of 10 shurikens hit the target. Iruka was surprised by this. He didn't think that a child who had just entered the academy would show such a result. Not bad. Next one. An hour passed. As a result, the results were as follows. 1. Akuma Yana has 9 hits out of 10. 2. Kyu Yan has 9 hits out of 10. 3. Naruto Uchiha, 8 hits out of 10. 4. Uchiha Sasuke, 8 hits out of 10. 5. Akaza Uzumaki, 8 hits out of 10. 6. Kaizenju has 7.5 hits out of 10. 7. Haru Mitsui, 7 hits out of 10. 8. Maichiha has 7 hits out of 10. The rest of the students were able to get in only 6 times out of 10. The only exception was Menma Namikaze, the son of the 4th Hokage, who hit only 4 times out of 10. Not bad for ordinary students. Okay kids, the usual classes will start tomorrow. The practice will take place once a week, and now everyone is going home, Iruka said calmly. It was already getting dark. Minato, as usual, was sitting in his office, doing a paper routine. Suddenly there was a knock on the office door. Come in, Minato said. A tall man dressed in white howler entered the office. The man's hair was blonde, and gathered in two buns, and Karasuda had already returned. There is news about Obito, and yes and no Mr. Hokage. I kind of found his trail in the hidden sand. In one of the villages, there were rumors about a man with a Sharingan in his left eye and with scars. I immediately went to the house where, according to rumors, this man lived. Apparently, you didn't find it. Unfortunately, yes. When I came to the house, there was blood everywhere and about 3 bodies of renegade ninjas. Apparently, there was a battle. In the end, after searching the house, the only thing I found was a letter. From whom? From a man named Blaze. In the letter, he warned about the fact that Obit was being hunted. Apparently, there was a reward for his head. It turns out that the bounty hunters broke into Obita's house and tried to kill him, but they failed, and in the end, Obito was able to escape. Minato suggested. That's not all. There was another letter. It was already written by Obito. Apparently, he didn't have time to send it. It said he was unable to use his Sharingan. Apparently, he is trying to solve this problem. Thank you, Karasu. You're free to rest. Thank you, Mr. Hokage. After these words, Karasu left the office. Minato was still thinking about the fate of his student for some time, when suddenly his stream of thoughts was interrupted by another knock on the door. Come in. After these words, Naruto came into the office. Naruto didn't expect you to come. Something has happened. No, Mr. Hokage, I have one question. Naruto was silent for a while, but gathering his thoughts, he asked, Who are my parents? Do you want to know who your parents are? Minato asked again. Yes. Naruto answered briefly and confidently. But why now? Well, how can I explain it to you? Naruto hesitated slightly, then said. Today, when I saw how the children from the academy were greeted by their parents, I felt sad, and because of the lack of an Obit. For some reason I remembered how I was once attacked by shinobi. Go on. I thought about it a bit, and assumed that it was related to my parents. Naruto was right. Minato, in turn, was surprised by the boy's quick wit. Minato pondered for a while and replied, Your father and I have been friends since the academy. We studied together under one of the 3 legendary Sanins, Jiraiya. Together with him, we went through the Third World War of Shinobi. But one day, what changed in him? After these words, Minato suddenly frowned. For some reason, he attacked me and my wife during childbirth. In the end, that's enough. Naruto stopped Minato. My father is Takashi Uchiha. Yes, if you think about it, it explains a lot. Naruto thought, and then asked, So you killed him? Yes, I'm sorry it ended like this, but I had no choice. You don't need to make excuses, Mr. Hokage. I don't blame you, besides I didn't know him. Naruto calmly said, And who is my mother? I don't know, Minato replied. He told the truth. One day Takasha went on a mission, and he returned only a couple of months later with the baby. It was you. He didn't say who your mother was. However, when he came with you, you were only a couple of weeks old, and perhaps your mother died from childbirth. And a few days after returning to Konoha, Takasha attacked you. Yes, there was silence. Minato didn't know what to say. Naruto, in turn, let him be outwardly calm, but inside he had. There was a whole hurricane of emotions. However, after a couple of minutes, Naruto decided not to hold back his emotions. He looked at Minato with tears in his eyes and a smile on his face, and said, Thank you, Mr. Hokage, this is very important to me. Wait, but I didn't really say anything. Discouraged, Minato replied, No, you took the stone from my soul. Thank you. A couple of hours have passed. Naruto was sitting on the statues of Hokage's faces. He was watching the night sky. Today there were many stars, and each attracted Naruto in its own way. Along the way, a boy. I was thinking about the information I received. His father did a lot of bad things. One attack on a village is worth something. Naruto felt that he should correct his father's sins, which means that he should become a worthy shinobi and receive recognition from the residents of Kanahi. This is the goal of our hero. 5 years later. Hey, Naruto, wake up. I tried to wake up my friend Akaza Uzumaki. What do you want? Yawning, Naruto asked, waking up, simultaneously jumping down from the tree on which he was sleeping. The final exam will start soon. Finally. Naruto's entire class was in a special exam room. Of the furniture in the room, there was a table at which two examiners were sitting. One of the examiners was Iruka, the second was Iruki Mizuki's assistant. The exam itself consisted of one stage. The students were required to show the cloning technique. It was necessary to create at least one clone. Students began to be called one by one. Each student was able to create 2 clones. After a while, only Naruto and Mena remained. "So, Naruto, come on now," Iruka said. Naruto calmly walked to the center of the room. Naruto himself was not worried that he would fail the exam. In 5 years, he had learned a lot of C-rank techniques. Our hero has also increased his chakra reserve thanks to training and itachi. By folding the sheep seal, Naruto was able to create about 4 clones. Thus, he surprised the examiners a lot. "Wow, not bad at all, Naruto." After these words, Iruka took out a shinobi bandage consisting of a metal plate on which the Kanahi symbol is engraved. Naruto took the bandage and tied it around his neck. "Congratulations. From now on, you're a shinobi." Naruto, not hiding his joy, smiled and bowed in gratitude, after which he left the room. "Congratulations, Naruto. I congratulated my friend Akaza Uzumaki. I knew you could pass the exam." "Yeah, and I had no doubt that you would pass it, like most of our classmates. But I don't think that's all. That's where Menma is taking the exam right now, yes. But I wouldn't underestimate him if I were you. I think he will surprise everyone yet." "Okay, it doesn't matter. By the way, what are you planning to do now? Do you want to come to my house and celebrate?" "No, I have plans today. I need to buy a couple of things. By the way, how do you make money at all?" "Well, I take half of the Obita budget. Sometimes Hokage gives me money, and I sell a couple of my things." "Well, okay, I'll see you tomorrow at the team allocation." Frost walked through the corridors of the laboratory. Today he was called to check the next experiment of Chishiki and Okochi, going into the room where 2 scientists were sitting. He finally showed up, Chishik said with displeasure. "Where have you been?" "I was looking for an obit from Chihuahua. As a result, I found his temporary shelter." "Shadow is looking for his tracks now," Frost replied calmly. "Unlike you, weakling, I have a lot of work to do." "May you die." "Boys, enough of the czar," Yakik said in a relaxed tone. "Frost, we've finished creating another homunculus. I thought Sarah was your best creation." "Now, no, come in." After these words, a boy came into the room. He looked to be about 13, but Frost knew the boy was much younger. "So what's your name, Oda?" The boy replied calmly. "TC, I feel like I'm going to have a lot of problems." Naruto and his classmates were sitting in one of the classrooms at the academy. Here genins were divided into teams. Naruto was talking to Akaza, hoping that they would be on the same team. The guys have been friends since the first days at the academy. Come to think of it, Akaza was Naruto's only friend at the academy. Naruto didn't communicate with the rest of his classmates very often, except for Shikamaru Nara and Akimichi Choji. If you think about it, there were even haters of our hero in the class. For example, there was Uchiha Shin, who, to put it mildly, disliked our hero. After some time, Iruka came into the office, who was holding a list of commands in his hands. After greeting his former Iruka students, he began to read the inscriptions on the sheet. "So let's get started. Team 1 includes Akaza Uzumaki, Maya-Chiha, and Kaizenju. Your Jonin mentor will be Itashinara. Team 2 includes Shinu Chiha, Akuma Yana, and Yoshihyuga. Your Jonin mentor will be Karma Uchiha. Team 3 includes Naruto Uchiha and Harumi Hana. Your Jonin mentor will be Karasuken. Stand by Shinsei Iruka." "Shouldn't there be 3 genins in the team?" Naruto asked Iruka. He didn't talk to Harumi very often. Harumi was outwardly a very attractive girl. She was tall, with long brown hair and jet black eyes. However, by nature, Harumi was unpleasant to Uchiha. Since she was a greedy person at the same time, she did not know how to save at all. Alas, but that's what it says on the form. There's nothing I can do about it. Perhaps someone will be transferred to you a little later. Well, let's continue. Team 4 includes Sata Uchiha, Kyu Yana, and Samuakari. Your Jonin mentor will be Kaoru Yana. Then the hand called the other commands. Then he left the office with the words, "Soon your Johnny mentors will come for you. Good luck to you. Turn left, where's that break?" Harumi spoke with displeasure. Even Team 7 has already been taken away. And our mentor was supposed to come 3 hours ago. Maybe he was detained on one of the missions, Naruto suggested. Not that it's unlikely. I know this Karasu. They say he has topographical cretinism. He carries a guide with him all the time on single tasks. No, I don't believe it. I bet Sturry that he's on a mission. After some time, the mentor of Team 3 came into the office. Phew, I finally found this place. So, apparently, you are my new wards. Sorry, I got lost and couldn't find my way for 3 hours. Karasu began to justify himself to the genins, and Naruto gave his money to Haru with displeasure. After some time, Janina and Janina went to the park, where they decided to continue getting to know each other. So, let's start our acquaintance. I started telling Karas, let's start with me. My name is Karasu Ken. I am one of Kanahi's strongest shinobi. I only use kinjutsu. I like Noodle's special battle. I don't like it, but there's not much. My dream is to become the strongest swordsman in the world. Now come on, girl. My name is Haru Mihana. I like money and expensive things. I don't like it when I'm broke and in debt. Haruna spoke with a twinkle in her eyes. Naruto wasn't surprised by this answer. My dream is to become the most famous kunaichi in Konoha. Not bad, as if evaluating the answer, Karasu said. Then he looked at Naruto. Now you. My name is Naruto Uchiha. Although I don't consider myself a member of the clan, I like to practice ninjutsu and genjutsu. I don't like a few of my classmates. My dream is to find my missing brother. Not bad either. Perhaps something will come out of you. Okay, we'll definitely find out about it tomorrow. Tomorrow, Naruto repeated. Yes, tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning, you have to come to the 17th training ground. There I will check your teamwork. Consider it a kind of exam. If you do not cope with it, you will return back to the academy. What? But then, why do we need a final exam from the academy? Harumi asked with displeasure. Naruto also asked this question to test our abilities, Uchiha suggested. Agas, smiling slightly, replied, Karasu. You're right. The academy exam was created to test genin individually, and the mentor's exam was created to test teamwork. And yes, you'd better not have breakfast tomorrow. Then he just left, finished his Naruto story. Itachi listened to him attentively. It was already dark. Itachi and Naruto were sitting in the evening kurama. It was clear from the name that they cooked in this cafe. Naruto took this ramen for himself, and Itachi took coffee and seaweed ramen for tea. It's quite funny that it's Karasu, the mentor of your Naruto team. Why is that? Do you see, when Karasusen was a genin, your father was his mentor. What? Naruto was surprised. It's true. Your father was the mentor of Team 3. They also competed quite often with Team 7. Which time is your brother? Yes. And how strong is Karasu? Naruto asked after a while. Good question. I've been on several missions with him, and if you think about it, he'll be stronger than me. He is roughly on the level of Obita-san and Hokage Dano. After thinking about it for a while, Itachi replied. And what is he like during battles? Naruto asked. He really likes to fight. As soon as he grabs a weapon, he instantly forgets about everything except the battle. Why are you asking? I have a suggestion that Haruma and I will have to fight him tomorrow. Therefore, I want to come up with a plan based on the information you have said. Not bad, Itachi said with a smile. Judging by your face, you've come up with something. Of course, and if I calculated everything correctly, then I will win. With a confident smile, Naruto said, turn around. I woke up to the alarm clock ringing. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. Without thinking twice, I put on a black t-shirt and white pants. Over the t-shirt, I wore my white haori with the Kanahi symbol on the back. I didn't have the village bandages in sight. Instead, I wore a ring on the ring finger of my left hand, meaning that I had once been in a special squad of leaf swordsmen. Finally, I decided to take my katana. After a while, I left the house. Today I need to go to the landfill, conduct a test for teams. I don't think they can beat me, but they don't have to. I should just check their teamwork. I have to walk in 40 minutes. I hope my topographical cretinism won't hurt me. I found the right polygon after 3 hours. Immediately, I met my students Naruto and Harumi. Naruto was wearing a black t-shirt, black pants with red patterns on it, and a jacket with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. Strangely, for some reason, I noticed that his black hair grew to his shoulders. He doesn't look like he's Takashi-sensei's son. Harumi, on the other hand, was dressed in ordinary black pants and a blue t-shirt. "Sorry I'm late," I said apologetically. "I got lost again." "Seriously, again?" Harumi asked with displeasure. I ignored her. "Okay, let's get down to business without further ado." After these words, I took out 2 bells from my pocket. "Your task is to take these bells from me. You have until 11 o'clock in the morning. The only rule is not to substitute your friend." And now we've started. The genins immediately disappeared. Well done. The ability to hide is vital for shinobi. Most likely, they are hiding in the forest. I was about to go there, when suddenly I felt that someone wanted to stab me in the back. I quickly stopped the blow, then threw Harumi aside. "And I thought you were going to hide," I said with a sneer. "Let's see how she's doing with emotion control." Harumi said nothing. She quickly took out Kun and attacked me in taijutsu. I easily dodged all of her attacks. Her taijutsu level is not bad. There is potential. Now it's worth looking at her techniques. "Is that all you're capable of?" I asked mockingly. "Actually, no," she said with a smile, when suddenly 3 Harumi clones appeared around me. They quickly began to fold the seals, but I was faster. In a couple of seconds, I destroyed the clones. During this time, the original managed to escape. Well, it wasn't bad for a novice genin. After a couple of seconds, shurikens flew at me from the forest. I was able to evade them without any problems. Most likely, Naruto threw them at me. I've heard he's pretty good at everything. Shuriken jutsu. However, it was not lucky for him that he gave away his location. I quickly ran in the direction from where I was attacked. Naruto was sitting on a tree branch. He was obviously waiting for me. Which means he has some kind of plan. Well, I'll play along with him. I jumped up to the branch where Uchiha was sitting. He quickly folded the seals and released a massive fireball from his mouth. Since I was in the air, I couldn't dodge. I had only 2 options: either destroy the equipment or take the blow on myself. The choice was obvious. I got mine out in a second. Katana, and redirected the water chakra into it, and then cut the fireball. After which I easily landed on the branch where Naruto was sitting. However, he was no longer there. Sitting on a branch and sheathing my katana, I began to look around, when suddenly I noticed explosive seals on the trees. A second before the explosion, I jumped to the ground. After my landing, there were explosions. Fortunately, they didn't touch me. However, I wonder how long Naruto has been setting all these traps. Did he come here before everyone else? Suddenly, another shuriken flew at me from behind. I dodged them again, and immediately I ran towards Naruto. He immediately folded the seals. For some reason, before the strike, I stopped. I couldn't move, and all the space around me disappeared. Genjutsu. I didn't think genin knew at least one such technique. Immediately, I interrupted my chakra flows and exited the genjutsu. When I came to myself, I noticed that I was surrounded by Naruto clones from all sides. If we take into account the fact that the original is among them, there are only 4 clones. Immediately, the clones attacked me in taijutsu. It was inconvenient to dodge, so I just blocked the blows. Suddenly, the original folded the seals and issued 5 small fireballs from his mouth. As I know, this technique is called phoenix flowers. After a moment, I took out my katana again, and, just like a fireball, I split the phoenix flowers. Naruto's clones, in turn, took advantage of the moment and hit me in the body, side and face. I immediately destroyed the clones. Suddenly, the original Naruto made a sharp jerk. He rushed in my direction and was clearly going to strike at me. In turn, I stopped the blow. "It looks like you're not even trying to pick up the bells," I asked with another sneer. "Stop. Bells?" I looked at my pants in the place where the bells should have been hanging. They weren't there. But when he had time, suddenly I heard a girl's laughter behind my back. Looking at Harumi, I saw the bells in her hands. "We won," Harumi said, throwing one bell to Naruto. He immediately caught it. "You easily forget about everything during the battle of Karasu Shinsei," Naruto said. When my friend told me about it, I quickly came up with a strategy. "I've been setting traps since 3 o'clock in the morning. Then, while you were gone, I told my plan to Harumi." "I see. So you've been distracting my attention all this time. And Harumi attacked me first so that I wouldn't wonder where she was. Well done. Pyateroshka for strategic thinking. You passed." The Genins did not hide their joy. Oh, they don't know yet how they will suffer on D-rank missions. 2 weeks have passed since the test. Team 3, albeit reluctantly, successfully completed the D-rank missions. Usually their essence was to find lost things and animals, as well as help in shops and housework. These missions were not particularly interesting to our team, but in between, Karasu was coached by Naruto and Harumi. One day, on one of these days, Naruto and Harumi went to the training ground after completing another task. Karasu went to his house to pick up something. Naruto and Harumi knew that Karasu, because of his quirks, would come in at least a couple of hours. So they decided to practice a little taijutsu. In taijutsu, Harumi was stronger than Naruto. Therefore, after a few minutes, Naruto lost Spirin. After that, the Genins folded the seals of reconciliation and began to calmly wait for Kara's. "You have a boring fight." Suddenly, the Genins heard, looking in the direction from which the unfamiliar voice was coming. Immediately, the Genins noticed a guy of the same age, standing on a tree branch. The guy was short. He wore a white sleeveless sweatshirt with a purple t-shirt underneath. The pants were the same color, and the guy was also wearing standard shinobi sandals. The guy's hair was black and grew up to the shoulder blades. The guy's eyes were yellow and somewhat resembled a snake's. "Who are you?" Naruto asked cautiously. Instead of answering, shurikens flew at Naruto, but Uchiha easily beat them off with his kunai. A strange answer. Immediately, the stranger jumped off the branch and started attacking Naruto. However, Harumi immediately managed to protect the second one. Harumi's attacks were fast, but the stranger easily compensated with his reaction. "Why don't you use your eyes? They will obviously help you," said the stranger Harumi. This discouraged her. Immediately she wondered how he knew. She paused for a moment, but that moment was enough to strike. However, Harumi was saved from the blow by Naruto, who kicked the stranger, which caused him to fly off a couple of meters. "Not a bad shot." Getting to his feet, the stranger said. Suddenly someone grabbed him by the neck. As it turned out, it was a Naruto clone. So he created a clone before the attack. "Tell me who you are by putting a kunai to the neck of a stranger." Calm down, calm down. I just wanted to test the strength of my teammates." "What?" Haru was surprised, the real one next to Naruto. "So this is what Karasu Shinsei wanted to tell you about," Naruto suggested. "Yeah," the stranger replied, and then said, "My name is Ichi. I am the adopted son of Karasu Shinsei. I hope we don't kill each other." After these words, Naruto and Harumi began to reflect. Naruto was thinking that Ichi did not look like a resident of Kanahi. At least the guy's clothes were clearly from another country. Harumi was thinking of one thing. This guy's taijutsu style was somewhat similar to a snake.